Have you ever had that moment? You get a letter, maybe from the DWP or HMRC, asking for financial details that just feel, well, intensely personal. Like they want to know exactly what did you spend your last 384 out on, or they demand bank statements completely unredacted. You can't even cross out your account number.
Yeah, it feels incredibly invasive.
Right. And the big question we're diving into today is why? Why are they asking for information that arguably they might already have access to?
That feeling, that sense of being watched, that's exactly what we're digging into. Our mission here is to look past just the letter, and really analyze the tech and the laws behind it.
Okay.
We've been synthesizing sources on this powerful system called Connect, and also looking at new legislation coming down the line, the Public Authorities Fraud, Error, and Recovery Bill, or Pay for Bill for short.
Pay for bill, got it.
Basically, we want to give you the shortcut to understanding what they're learning through this AI data matching, and really crucially, what your rights are in all of this.
And we've got some quite serious sources raising real flags about data matching, AI, privacy, things that seem to have been kept pretty quiet. So let's unpack this central system first. Right? The core of it is this thing called Connect. And the sources we looked at show DWP and HMRC aren't just swapping notes, they're actively working together using Connect. It's like a huge data matching engine.
And it reaches far. Connect isn't just a UK thing. The sources say it runs far and wide. It actually links up with social security organizations across Europe, too.
Across Europe, wow.
Yeah. Essentially, it's built to cross-reference loads of different data points, credit reports, maybe utility bills, benefit claims, obviously just making sure the story you tell matches up with your kind of external financial footprint.
Okay, but that just makes the whole bank statement request even weirder, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If they have this super system, Connect, spanning Europe, why are actual staff members still asking claimants for unredacted statements?
Oh, yes. Why ask for the raw data manually? Well, this is where, according to the sources we analyzed, it gets really interesting. The suggestion is that the request often isn't just about clarifying the money.
Okay.
It's framed as an exercise in, well, behavioral analysis. They want to learn your patterns, see if you stay compliant when pushed. The request itself is seen as a way of testing your response.
Wait, hold on. So you're saying they might know the answer or have the data, but they ask anyway just to see how I react. That sounds incredibly inefficient if it's just about checking facts.
It does seem inefficient from a purely administrative view, yeah. But if the goal has shifted slightly, maybe it's less about the data itself, which Connect is already crunching, and more about testing the person.
Testing the person.
Testing the integrity of the profile connected up, maybe, seeing if you push back, if you question it, or if you just comply immediately. It's like a compliance check disguised as just, paperwork.
That really shifts things. It's not just an audit tool then, it's potentially a profiling tool.
Yeah.
Which brings us straight to AI, artificial intelligence. DWP's own public data charter says, quite openly, they use AI to help deliver services efficiently and, crucially, to detect and prevent fraud and error. That's the official line.
That is the official line. But the source material we looked at put some important caveats on that. DWP insists they don't use AI to replace human judgment for deciding or denying payments.
Okay.
Unless the law specifically allows that automation. But here's the kicker. Transparency. They've apparently been asked repeatedly to reveal the actual algorithm behind their AI.
Yeah.
And they haven't done so. That lack of transparency around the black box is a major concern, especially when you think about fairness and, due process.
Absolutely. If you don't know how the machine decides. And it gets even more worrying when you look at security. The sources raise some pretty serious flags there, too.
Yeah, there are allegations mentioned that some of these systems processing incredibly sensitive data are hosted in what the source calls the most risky data security countries of the world.
That's alarming, given the kind of information we're talking about.
Exactly. And to underline the potential dangers of these automated systems maybe running without enough oversight, the sources shared a really striking anecdote. It involves a former DWP employee.
Okay, what happened?
So this person was apparently dismissed after they took legal action over a disability discrimination claim.
Right.
Then, just days after filing that claim, an AI-generated report supposedly surfaced. This report stated the person was logged into a DWP system while they were physically, and I quote, standing in the sea 10 minutes from my house.
Standing in the sea while logged into work. That sounds impossible.
Well, demonstrably false, according to the source. But the point is, if an AI monitoring system can produce that kind of inaccurate data point, and that data is used as a basis of source, well, you can see the immense risk when this tech influences major decisions about people's lives.
Yeah, that's deeply concerning. False data leading to real consequences.
And while these concerns about AI accuracy and data security exist, the government seems to be pushing ahead to give the whole system a stronger legal footing, an undeniable mandate, even with potential flaws.
Which brings us to that legislation you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. The Public Authorities Fraud, Error, and Recovery Bill, the PAFER bill.
This is the legal engine driving this forward.
It looks like it. And we need to stress, this isn't some distant proposal. The source material highlights the urgency. The bill is at its third reading in Parliament.
Third reading. So that's very close to becoming law, right? Before royal assent.
Very, very close. It's pretty much near the final hurdle.
Okay, so for you listening, what does this actually change on the ground? If the PAFER bill passes, it means complying with requests for certain info, like those unredacted bank statements, becomes mandatory.
That's what's reported. It shifts from a request you could potentially argue about to a legal requirement. If you refuse, you could risk legal action. The power dynamic shifts significantly.
Wow. Okay. Mandatory compliance.
And there's more. Looking at the bigger picture, the PAFER bill also seems to give the government much longer to pursue people for alleged fraud.
How much longer?
Up to 12 years. More than a decade. It basically stops the clock running out on potential investigations, which might have happened as early as March 2026 under current rules. It's a huge extension of state oversight.
12 years.
Yeah.
That's a long shadow.
Eh.
And the critique in the source material really hits hard here. It suggests this whole push, the tech and the law, has been done, quote, very, very discreetly.
Quietly.
Yeah. The argument is that DWP should have been much more upfront with the public about these changes, rather than relying on what the source calls a little fact sheet buried somewhere online.
That lack of open communication about the tech seems mirrored by a lack of communication about the law itself.
Which feels especially problematic when you see the sheer scope of the data DWP says it can process. Their own data charter outlines it, and it's, well, it's pretty breathtaking.
It really is. Let's walk through some of the types of data mentioned in the sources, beyond the obvious, like financial details, employment, education history.
Okay, what else is on the list?
Well, there's sensitive information like physical or mental health details. That makes some sense in a benefits context, perhaps. Then genetic data, biometric data like fingerprints or facial recognition information about offenses or criminal proceedings.
Quite sensitive already.
But the one that really jumps out, the one that seems hardest to justify in this context, is information relating to your sexual life.
Sorry, did you say sexual life?
That's what the source material highlights from the charter, yes.
Okay, I have to ask, why? How could details about someone's private sexual life possibly be relevant to a standard benefits claim or tax assessment? Did the sources offer any justification at all?
That's precisely the question the sources raise. There's no clear justification provided for collecting that specific category of data. It fuels the concern that maybe the system is just designed to hoover up everything it possibly can, legally speaking, whether it's directly relevant to fraud or not, just building this incredibly detailed profile.
A total profile.
Oh.
And it gets wider still when you look at who they're sharing this data with. It's not just kept within DWP or HMRC, is it?
Not at all. The sharing network described is vast. Of course, it includes other government departments, local authorities, those social security bodies in other countries we talked about.
Standard enough, maybe.
But then it goes on. Employers and potential employers, social landlords, utility companies, energy suppliers.
Potential employers. So this data could affect your job prospects.
That seems to be the implication. But perhaps the most concerning, for me anyway, reading the sources, were the communication providers.
You mean phone companies, internet service providers? What are they sharing?
The charter apparently suggests DWP can get information, including phone numbers you've called and even potentially websites you've visited.
Websites visited. That's deep surveillance territory, far beyond just checking income.
It really moves into communication surveillance, yeah.
Yeah.
The potential for creating an incredibly intimate digital picture of someone seems enormous.
And the list doesn't stop there, does it?
Yeah.
TV licensing, financial institutions, banks, obviously credit reference agencies. It paints a picture of DWP becoming this central nexus, pulling in threads from almost every part of your life.
That's certainly the impression the source material gives. And layered on top of all this data gathering, there are these practical on-the-ground changes mentioned too.
Like what?
Like the intention for DWP staff to start wearing body cameras in job centers. The source argues this could be really difficult when staff are dealing with vulnerable people, maybe someone having a mental health crisis or dealing with trauma. High-tech data surveillance meets sort of high-stress physical monitoring.
Body cams.
hmm
Okay, and one last point on the data itself. How long do they keep it?
Officially, the policy states DWP can keep information for up to 6 years. But interestingly, the source material mentions claimants reporting being asked for bank statements going back as far as 9 years.
9 years. So there's a gap between the stated policy and what people are actually experiencing.
It appears so. Another area where transparency and practice seem potentially misaligned.
Right. So with all this huge system, the new laws, the massive data collection, the AI, it really begs the question, what power does the individual actually have left? Can you push back at all?
That's the crucial question, isn't it? Is there any way to reclaim some control? And thankfully, it seems there might be. We have a really encouraging little story, an anecdote from a contributor the source calls Ghost Watcher Keeping It Real.
Okay, Ghost Watcher. I like it. What do they do?
So they were dealing with a council housing department slightly different, but the principle applies. The council threatened to close their homeless application unless they handed over 5 months of bank statements. Unredacted, of course.
It's standard demand.
Right. But what this person did was clever. They did provide the statements, but they blacked out all the individual transactions.
Ah, so they showed the income but not the spending.
Exactly. They only left visible the universal credit and disability payments coming in. And crucially, they didn't just do it. They challenged the council. They asked, under what specific law do you need my unredacted sort code and account number, given you can clearly see my total income?
Brilliant. Playing them at their own game, demanding the legal basis. And what happened?
This is the win. The Information Commissioner's Office, the ICO, the UK's data watchdog, actually upheld their challenge. They found the council had failed in its duty to process data fairly.
Wow. So it worked. Challenging the necessity, asking for the legal justification that can actually succeed.
It shows that those core data protection principles, that data has to be collected and used lawfully, fairly, transparently, and only for specific purposes, they still have teeth, if you know how to use them.
Okay, that's really important.
And probably the most powerful tool in your arsenal, especially once a benefit claim has finished, is Article 17 of the GDPR.
GDPR Article 17, that's the right to erasure, isn't it? The right to be forgotten?
Precisely, the right to erasure. And you can use it actively.
How? How does it work in practice for someone listening?
It's basically about sending a formal request. Once your benefit claim is completely over, and assuming there's no active investigation or legal reason for them to keep your data, you can write a letter to the DWP.
Okay, a formal letter.
Yes, formally requesting they erase your personal data under Article 17. Now, they might respond saying, well, our policy allows us to keep it for up to 6 years for audit purposes.
Right, that 6-year figure again.
If they say that, don't just accept it vaguely. You need to log the date they said that and get that specific agreement, that 6-year limit confirmed in writing.
Ah, so you pin them down to their own stated retention period.
Exactly. It creates a clear timeline and holds them accountable. It's a concrete way to exercise some control over your data footprint after the fact.
That's genuinely useful advice.
Okay. So pulling it all together, our deep dive today really reveals this picture of a rapidly growing AI-powered data matching system Connect, which is getting serious legal backing from the pay-for bill. And this system is set up to collect and crucially share incredibly sensitive personal details, financial, health, even communication data across this huge network, nationally and internationally.
Yeah, the scope is vast. And the key takeaway, it seems to me, is this real tension. On one hand, there's a legitimate goal, reducing fraud and error in the system. Nobody argues with that.
Of course.
But on the other hand, there's this fundamental need for the system to stay humane, to respect privacy, and stick to those core principles. Data used lawfully, fairly, transparently, and it feels like the tech and the law might be outpacing the conversation about those principles right now.
That balance seems increasingly difficult to strike. The sources suggest the system is building these comprehensive profiles, sometimes using routine requests as essentially behavioral tests.
Okay, so here's the final thought for you to take away. Now that you've heard about the true depth of this data, sharing everything from your health conditions to potentially the websites you visit, and the fact that AI reports, which might even be flawed, can be used as a basis of source against you.
Mm.
And what steps might you want to take starting today just to review your own digital footprint, to understand what data might be out there? And maybe, more importantly, how you can start using tools like that GDPR, right to erasure we just talked about. Because knowing your rights and actually asserting them seems more vital now than ever before.